What is up, Zinger Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga Live. It's Tuesday, even though it kind of feels like a Monday after that 3-day weekend. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Of course, if you're anywhere in the United States, chances are it's pretty cold where you're at. So hope you guys are staying warm. I don't know what it is right now, but up in Detroit this morning when I got in my car, it was a wind chill of like -10 with an actual um, temperature of about 5 degrees. So, but we're powering through. We're here. The office inside, it's nice and warm. I'm wearing my sweater. There's still some people going to be ice skating behind me soon, bracing the cold. Today, we are going to be doing our last episode of this educational series with Kaiju. There may be some more coming in the future, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But we've recapped a lot throughout these past 7 episodes. And it's been a pleasure to have Ryan Pannell, the CEO of Kaiju, on with us. And I think without further ado, let's go ahead and get the show started. When we come back, we'll bring Ryan on. We'll be recapping some of the biggest lessons we've talked about, as well as sending you off with some more tips that will help you on your trading journey. What is up, Zinger Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga Live. Happy Tuesday, everybody. All righty, Ryan, how are you doing? Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Hopefully you had a good long weekend.
Yeah, I did. We got a big Lions win up here in Detroit, so the city was all pumped about that. Now, we're back in Tuesday, and one of the best parts about the 3-day weekend is on the back end, you come back and you only got a 4-day week, so you're one day closer to the weekend there. But Ryan, let's hop straight into it. We've got one more episode of this educational series. We're going to be talking about how to increase your profits. We've covered a lot in the last 7 episodes. And to be sure, there is a wealth of information there that can help any retail trader, no matter their experience. But if you had to boil it down to the top 5 things, what would those be? And would they be things you've already shared or something new?
Actually, they wouldn't be from the list that I've already shared. I mean, fine. We walked through starting off with, I think I want to trade. I might want to self-manage my investments. I wonder if I can make a go at this retail trading thing from that. Or I've already started. I'm having hodgepodge results. What could I do? All the way through everything, step by step, all the way up to what I would consider sort of a qualified beginning trader. Not, right on the verge of intermediate, right? You're no longer making the common mistakes that retail traders make. You've got yourself set up with the correct educational pool. You got yourself set up with the right tools. You have some useful indicators. You started to build your own personal trading systems. Okay, fine. But in trying to think about how I would finish this all off, and we were talking about this internally here, and it's funny because if I had to boil down like the 5 things that I can actually track to like consistent profit, not just, in this market condition or in that market condition, or, oh yeah, 2017, I remember that was, like, God, that VIX environment ain't ever coming back. But if I had to boil it down, it's actually doesn't boil down to 5 tips that are tool related or trade management related. And to sort of introduce you to those, I'm going to tell you a little story briefly here, which is how I got introduced to them. So rewind the clock. It's like 2015, and I'm managing this portfolio tranche for a household name fund manager. So one of the larger fund managers in the world. And I won't do him the disservice. He's very kind to me. I won't do him the disservice of walking people up to his door. But I was super excited to have this opportunity. At the time, it was like pushing the envelope of my comfort level. And I was now interacting with people that were like way up the food chain for me, coming from institutional trading to that. It was my first sort of big PM job. And he was famous for holding these annual retreats. And he'd invite like 14 portfolio managers from around the world, and you'd go somewhere in the world for like 3 or 4 days. And then he would fly in these global experts in whatever it was this retreat was focused on. And you would get exposed to this wealth of information. And I was so pumped that I got invited to this. And that year it was in St. Lucia, which is a beautiful little island in the Caribbean. I was also pumped about that. And I flew in and I met these PMs from New York, Singapore, Hong Kong, Philly, some guys from Miami, a bunch of guys from London. And, we chat the first night. You don't know what the subject matter is. It's kind of a big surprise, right? And then we all show up in this room that was designated for this event the next day. And this woman comes in, this guy comes in, they're kind of wearing workout clothes. And there's a whiteboard. And they start giving this presentation on the physiological benefits of yoga. And we're like, what is this? We're looking around. They said, welcome to our group. But like you can tell, we're all looking at each other like, what? Wait a minute. Like we're not talking about specifics in derivatives trading. We're not talking about, more accurate surface modeling. What's going on here? We thought it was like they blended two different retreats and screwed up.
Yeah, you're like you're in the wrong conference room.
Totally, right? I mean, this is like, there's 14 guys in this room. I'm pretty sure none of us did yoga. And it wasn't a yoga class. They're going into these physiological benefits. And so we're all sort of awkwardly sitting there. We're like taking notes. It's like, what the hell is this? And it's not like it didn't make any sense, but not what we thought we were going to get. And then the next session after that, there were 3 before lunch. The next one after that was on caffeine modulation. The one after that was a big one, and it was on sleep. And we're in like, at this point, there's a big presentation, and there's like one of the world's top sleep scientists is there giving us this presentation. And one of the guys, we're kind of in this like little amphitheater.
Do you remember who it was? Was it
that?
Do you remember who the sleep expert was?
Yeah, it was Matthew Walker.
Okay, so I was curious. Yeah, he has the book Why We Sleep, and it's
that guy's a freaking genius.
Fantastic. Yeah, he's been on a couple podcasts with Huberman, the Huberman Lab podcast, as well as I think an episode of Joe Rogan. So if you're out there and you want to listen to Matthew Walker, you can go listen to one of those podcasts.
Please do. He's a freaking genius. So you get in this presentation, and then one of the guys, this New Yorker, I'm not going to try and do the accent, but it was thick. Like we're sitting there, and just as an aside, like the fund manager shows up at these things, but he's never around. Like he's there, but he's not there. He doesn't attend the sessions. Once in a while, you kind of see him somewhere. And so this New York guy, PM, he's like, I thought we were here to learn how to make more money. And this voice at the back of the room, which was this billionaire fund manager, goes, you are. And suddenly, like, it occurs to all of us. Like, we all do the math at, like, light speed. And we come to the conclusion that if you had a personal net worth of, like, $4.7 billion and access to any information that you wanted, like, you're at a point where you can meet with a world expert on anything you feel like. Like, you want to learn how to surf, you could probably have Kelly Slater teach you how to surf. You could probably have the mental game of golf. You could probably sit down and talk to some, top 10 tour golfer if you felt like it at that point. There's nobody that you couldn't Gulfstream over to you and woo with a huge fee and then get the information. And if you're that person and you're running a retreat on increasing profitability and you are one of the world's top fund managers and you're picking this stuff, then this is probably really important.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, like no matter what we thought in the beginning of the morning, like the mind completely opens. And so the whole retreat was on physiology and specifically how that can improve your cognitive function, decision-making capabilities, your ability to see patterns. Like it all boiled down into obviously better portfolio management, but it did not come from any of the areas that we thought it was going to come to. And so what I thought I would do to close this off is share the top 5 things that came out of this impossible to get invited to weekend retreat. Every one of us has used these tips. There were actually 7, but I've left 2 of them off, only because people get funny about, as soon as you talk about diet or alcohol, people get a little weird. And the first 5 are the top 5 anyway. We've all kept up with this. And if you think about it, if you're a trader, if you're a portfolio manager, we're fortunate in that, much like an Olympic athlete, you can actually track changes in your performance to specific things you do, right? Your P&L is constant. So suddenly you make some fundamental change in your trading strategy, in your behavior, in your outlook, whatever, and your P&L jacks up, you can go back to that months later and go, oh yeah, that's when I started to whatever, meditate, get better at math, whatever it is, right? You could track it back to this. Same thing where you have really rocky P&L, you're going through a tough time of your life, you can see it. It's in the P&L chart. So the top 5 things, I just give you the list and then we'll go through them and I'll share kind of the Reader's Digest version. So the top 5 things: number 1, better sleep. Number 2, proper caffeine use and modulation. Number 3, daily exercise. You knew this was coming, right? Number 4, regular breaks. And number 5, be off when you're off. So let's start with sleep, right? You've got your parents all told you to go to frickin' sleep early, right? Everyone's told to go to sleep when you're a kid. You don't want to go to sleep early because you feel like you're missing out on life. That's why we do. So as adults, we end up staying up. I mean, I'll ask you, what time do you go to sleep?
I go to sleep later than I should. I am probably asleep. Like, I'm probably in bed around midnight, asleep by 12:30. But then when I wake up at 6:30, like, that's only 6 hours, probably not enough.
Yeah, right, exactly. And if you think about now, that's normal adult behavior, right? Like, who the hell goes to bed at 9 p.m. that's not like 75 years old, right? Athletes, you find like LeBron James goes to bed at like 8 p.m. or 7:30 or something, sleeps 14 hours. Yeah, fine. But he's an elite athlete working his body to the max every day. So are you, only you're doing it with your brain, right? Like, that's how to think about your place as a trader. So when it comes to sleep, you think about, what are you doing between 9 p.m. and midnight? Are you inventing something incredible? Like, you're probably, leave the R-rated stuff out, but you're probably not doing anything substantially important. You're just scrolling through your phone, you're watching TV, you're watching a movie, you're playing video games, whatever it is, it's not something that's really going to change your life. So would it kill you to dial back 3 hours? Now, that improves literally everything. If you don't get enough sleep, then your body doesn't perform the reparative functions that it needs to, that it only does when you're asleep. Like, you think you build muscle all day long? You totally don't. When you're unconscious, you do. You turn short-term memories into long-term memories. You heal and create new neural pathways. Like, everything actually boils down to sleep. And again, don't take my word for it, look up Matthew Walker. He's got a master class on sleep on top of this. It is so worth learning from this guy. You'll be like, I can't believe it, I'm an idiot.
I know. I just hate whenever you learn this stuff. I'll listen to like the Human Lab podcast and stuff, and it's like every. It's like, I love laying in my bed and scrolling on my phone. It's like everything you want to do, like stay up late. No, you shouldn't do that. Be on your phone at nighttime. No, you shouldn't do that. You got to exercise. It's like everything you don't want to do, you really have to do, and that's what makes you feel better.
Exactly. And people have been telling you it. Eat more vegetables. You're like, yeah, I'll get around to that. But when it's put in the context of what it actually means and what you're sacrificing, like that, number one, you start getting a lot of good quality sleep. The trading capacity just goes way up. Like, you don't see things the same way. You don't have that brain fog. And that leads us to the next thing, caffeine habits, right? And caffeine's not bad. I'm not going to tell you stop drinking coffee. Don't worry. I'm not going to take that away. But here's what most people understand is obviously what caffeine does. You know that it gives you, at least it feels like it gives you energy. But why is that? So caffeine binds to a hormone called adenosine, right? Your body produces adenosine in these waves throughout a 24-hour period. And that's the sleep hormone. It's not melatonin. That tells your brain it's starting to get time to go to sleep. But adenosine is what makes you sleepy. So you have this big shot of caffeine in the morning, and the caffeine goes and it binds to the adenosine and it stops the adenosine from being taken up in the bloodstream. And so you feel alert, kind of focused, everything. It's a good thing. It's a good feeling. But it's an adenosine inhibitor. It doesn't get rid of it. So what happens is your body is still producing adenosine and the caffeine molecules are binding to it. And like they're having this wrestling match that goes on in the morning, all through the morning. So you're working through your morning, you get to lunch, eventually adenosine beats the caffeine. And there's this surge of adenosine that hits your bloodstream. And that's why like around lunch, after lunch, you get this like crippling fatigue. You think it's because you ordered the pasta at lunch. It's totally not. You get this wave of adenosine and you go for the afternoon coffee. But the coffee can't deal with the adenosine that you've just absorbed. That's why the afternoon coffee is always crummy. Like it's something, but it's not as good as the morning one, right? That jolts you awake, makes you feel like you could take on the world. It's just like, oh my God, let me get through the end of the day. So now you have caffeine that's going to prevent the absorption of new adenosine, but it can't do anything about the hit you just took. So number one, that's why it's lousy. It creates these waves and it results in poor quality sleep later in the day, especially if you have caffeine after 1 p.m. But the bigger deal for traders is that caffeine is a mood modulator, right? You have a couple cups of coffee. Doesn't the world always look like a little better, a little brighter, right? It is a mood enhancer. So you have a couple cups of coffee, you get to work, you sit down, you're looking through your charts, you're doing analysis. And then, you know, a stock that looks like it's going to topple, like looks like it's going to sink into the ground. A stock that looks like it might lift, looks like it's a rocket going to the moon. Right? It affects your perception of things that it shouldn't affect your perception of because you have all of this surge of energy. You have no adenosine being absorbed at that moment. So what we end up doing is we end up taking caffeine. We have coffee in the morning or a different product, doesn't matter, something with caffeine. And we take it with an amino acid called L-theanine, which is a component of black tea. And when caffeine and L-theanine are bundled together, that complete adenosine blockade doesn't happen, and you don't get that up and down spike in mood and energy. It causes the slower delivery and absorption of caffeine, so you get sort of a solid state clarity that exists through the morning. You can find this combination actually in some workout supplements, and I'm not plug in anybody's specific product here. Nobody pays me. I've used a workout supplement by a company called Legion, which actually has online available all the scientific studies behind their products. And it seems like a good guy that runs it. And it's a product called Pulse. And that works for me. But other guys use different combinations of the two. Some guys I know just take the discrete caffeine with L-theanine as a supplement, like together, because they don't like coffee and they don't like tea and they don't like pre-workout and they just want the impact. So if you want to use caffeine, and there's no reason you shouldn't, there's lots of benefits to caffeine and certainly antioxidant benefits to coffee. Be aware of how that impacts your sleep. I mean, are you a coffee guy, Aaron?
I am. Yes, I am. And so I was hoping you weren't going to say like no coffee at all. I don't want you to take away my coffee. So I don't know if you start getting if I start getting better sleep going to bed earlier, does that mean I should stay away from caffeine altogether?
No, you should not stay away from caffeine altogether. Different people have different caffeine sensitivities. You know, you get this, recommended dietary intake. It's like 450 milligrams, I think, of caffeine a day. If you're a 350-pound dude, that's not going to do as much to you as like a 135-pound guy or girl. So different people respond to caffeine differently. My wife is very caffeine sensitive, so she has to have like small espressos, little coffees. It just makes her sort of jittery and on edge. So she doesn't use very much of caffeine. But for those of us who've had it sort of in the culture of trading and business for a while, you've got an ability to handle more caffeine. I'm probably at the 350 to 400 milligrams a day. but I do.
How many cups of coffee is that?
That would be like 2 big cups.
Okay.
But, so I take the pre-workout in the morning, which gives me my caffeine and the L-theanine. And I won't actually I'll have a small coffee kind of mid-morning, like really small, like an espresso half calf or something. And then I'll have like a tiny espresso at like 1 p.m. And that's it. That's me
Okay.
done for the day. And I'm like sailing right through, no problem concentrating. But
Yeah.
that's helped by the next 3 things. Like, obviously, we're going to say exercise. And you know that this is good for you, below the neck. I'm not going to go into all that crap because I don't want to get preachy about it. But what people sort of forget about exercise is how much it does for the brain. Right? So, like exercise causes the release of endorphins. It reduces the release of cortisol. It promotes relaxation. It reduces stress. It increases blood flow to the brain. It's been shown to enhance memory. It reduces cognitive decline. Like, the list is ridiculous when you look at exercise's impact on your brain. And what do we do? We use our brain like Olympic athletes every day, doing extremely fast math and making split-second decisions. I mean, trading is no joke. Everyone who's watching this show, everyone in the comment thread is going to agree with this. And what's the consequence? What, fun? $20 here and there? No, it's like a gut punch to your bank account. So daily exercise, and it doesn't matter what it is. So it doesn't matter. You're a treadmill guy, do the treadmill. You're a hockey guy, play hockey. You want to go for a walk for 60 minutes, throw some tunes on, meditation music. It makes literally no difference. Just daily exercise. And so, that is hard to carve out in a trading day. But when are you going to exercise? Probably right around I'm talking right here. Like, why are we doing this show at 11 a.m. Eastern time? Because the morning rush is over and we're not getting into post-lunch consolidation and rebalance before the end of the day. Right here, 11 a.m. to, let's say, 1 p.m. is freaking dead. So step away from the terminal, go for a walk, go to the gym, do some push-ups. I don't care. But every day you do something, and that is part of the big cycle. You do the exercise, you're modulating your caffeine better, and you have better sleep habits. The exercise gives you better sleep. The sleep makes the exercise more meaningful. The caffeine modulation makes it all work together. So it's kind of like this trifecta that really, really works. So, I mean, and I've seen this empirically. The 2018 December market drop, which was like almost 10% in a heartbeat. Like, I had a lot of short premium on during that time. It snapped back fast, but I would have had a heart attack normally. But I was using all of these tools and I just sort of like wrote it out. And that's the first time I remember after I implemented this and was substantially challenged. I mean, Greece wasn't really a challenge. We all knew about that default in 16. It was not a surprise. But that one, I just rode through it like duck diving a big wave. It was really easy, and I thought I would not have been able to do that otherwise. So all these changes affected this outcome.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible how much these little things that, I don't think people would normally think about when they're thinking about their trading can really help. So, are you just, I guess, then with that setup where you take that, pre-workout in the morning, you're sleeping well, you've got exercise, you're just powering through nonstop with an abundance of energy, or you said you still kind of need that 1 p.m. small espresso pick me up?
Absolutely. The number 4, regular breaks. Like, I did not regiment these breaks previous to this retreat. I mean, you get tired, you get bored, you kind of need to get some air, you step away for random periods of time. But especially when you get in the morning, if you're trading sort of like market hours, most people are, 8:30, you're doing pre-market, you're looking at whatever happened the night before, if that impacts your type of trading. So you're looking at where Europe is, where Asia was and ended up. And it's very easy for the next time you look up, it's like 11 o'clock, right? You've done several hours of analysis and obviously the high intensity open position management. And your brain is like, it's taken a hit at this point. So what we learned, which is similar to this Pomodoro technique, I've never read whatever that comes from. Is it a book? Is it a seminar? No idea. But I know that it's a time management system that's either 25 and 5 or 50 and 10. I use 50 and 10 because 25 is just not enough for me to really get into something. And I don't feel like I need the break. I actually feel like the 5-minute pause is an interruption. But the 50-10, so all of my tasks are scheduled 50 minutes. And then I literally have an alarm that goes off and I stop for 10 minutes. I don't take calls. And it's like a real break. Like you can't move from your trading terminal to your phone. You can't move from your trading terminal to social media or you open a browsing window. It's not a break from trading. It's like leave the trading station. And so everyone's different. We had one guy who, and he was a pattern recognition specialist. He was a technical trader for like 25 years. And he had a wall in his office painted this 18% medium gray. And if you watch the other episodes in this series, you'll see like we talk about the black on white candlesticks on a white background being the preferred way to look at a candlestick chart, not the red and green on the black. And so he's looking at these things like hundreds of them, tab, space bar, whatever it is, that are coming through his filters and his scans. 50 minutes would go by. The ding would go off. This guy would turn and he would stare at this 18% medium gray wall for 10 minutes. Think about something else, let his mind wander, and that would reset his like spatial sensitivity. So he turned back, and instead of like glassing over where every chart starts to look the same, he was sharp again. He could see very minute patterns by doing that in different data, not just candlestick charts. So that's what he swore by. I was fortunate at the time. I lived in Barbados. I had a house on the ocean and my office backed onto it. So I would just turn my chair and I would look out the window at the ocean, or I'd walk out back and just stand there for 10 minutes. I'd come back, sit down, and get back to it. And that like made a 6.5 hour trading day like completely doable and with sort of electric focus. Whereas prior to that, I'd have a hard time. You sort of, panic in the morning, panic at the end of the day, get on close orders in the middle of the day. That's your time to what? Read through some sleep-inducing 26-page analyst report. It's very difficult to remain on task and focus if you're not taking regular breaks. So it really does help with resetting your, mental calculator, I guess. One of your guys asked me, how much does he weigh? I weigh 190 pounds. Easy, Mike.
Oh, there you go.
Sure, I'm not sure if you asked me, but and another, it was a really good comment. This Jay Rice, right? What did he say? Exercise, read books, lift weights. Yeah, that one. Avoid booze. Yeah. Total mantra. That guy has absolutely got it.
Yeah, if you want to be healthy, you got to start with those things. So we've touched on now 4 out of the 5. We've talked about sleep. We've talked about caffeine. We've talked about taking breaks. We've talked about exercising. What is number 5 out of 5? What's going to bring us home here, Ryan?
The be off when you're off. And this is the one, honestly, I struggle the most with. I always have, right? If you are somebody that is looking to gain an edge, maintain an edge, it's very difficult. I mean, we're fortunate, right? The market shuts off unless you're a futures trader and you were just freaking trading 24, crypto, or overseas APAC. Like, we're done at 4 p.m. Ding, 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 ding. You're closed out of your options at 4:15, and you're doing your aftermarket sheets by 5. Like, there's nothing left for you to do. It's over. But the old school traders that were my mentors, like cocaine and red wine and steak and strippers. They're like out the door, right?
Right.
Just done. But that doesn't exist. That hasn't existed in a long, long time. And now that we have this always on, always accessible environment, it's really tough to not scroll through the Bloomberg articles that I've missed during the day, Business Insider, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, like wherever I'm looking. Like there's 3 hours of crap to read if I want to read it. Is it going to change how I'm going to trade the next day or manage the portfolio? Absolutely not. It's not going to do anything. It's just sucking up time, right? And that can just continue on and on and on and on. And your brain is getting no time off from this crap. You're not going to have any creative ideas. You're not going to be refreshed, even if you've done the caffeine modulation, even if you've exercised, even if you're going to bed early. When does your brain just think about silly crap? When is it spent when your guys hear Easy Mike like chase kids? Yeah, exactly that, right? Be off. Go do something with your family. Go do something with your friends. I mean, try to be off screens. I will admit that I will just, behind that painting is a flat panel and there's an Xbox connected to it. Sometimes I will just do that for like an hour.
Yeah. I mean, whatever it takes to just, yeah.
Whatever it takes, but it's really important to be off. Like when I started, especially when I started building this collection of companies, like, years ago when I was building the companies before that, my cryptography company, I worked like a 7-day week because I was an entrepreneur. Like I got paid for doing that, right? It didn't pay me to take time off. It's like 14 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week. I met my wife and she's like, "You're insane. You got to take off weekends." And I felt like I was so broken. I felt like I was working a 4-day week. And this is 22 years ago. And then she's like, "You're going to start coming home for dinner." And I felt like I was leaving at lunch. Like it's really a slippery slope to get to the point where always on doesn't feel like always on, but your brain absolutely
and I think
knows that it's always on.
You see this now where, maybe 20 years ago, the mold of like a founder of a startup or CEO was, working essentially 24 hours a day. Now it's like any profile you read of any successful founder and they're like, I prioritize sleep and family time and all this stuff. And it seems like there's a lot more balance it just in the business world in general right now. And I mean, you mentioned that the old Wall Street days of guys staying out and drinking and doing drugs and all that stuff has made way for this new wave of people that are more health focused. And I don't think it's by, accident. It's like more like, oh, those guys are more successful. Those guys are doing better than we are. And then people start needing to change their habits. So definitely something you like that's recognizable just in the last 20 years.
Yeah, and I mean even more so lately. And I got to the point where I promised myself in the morning, I get up in the morning and the first thing I do, I have this room that's like heated overnight. And I go in there, I do like just 15 minutes of meditation before I, shower, get dressed, start my day, all that stuff. And because I use the Calm app on my phone for the music, for the meditation, it's like I got my phone and there's a bunch of little, red circles, on email, on tasks, WhatsApp, this kind of stuff. It's really difficult to not hit one of those and get sucked into that. And then I'm like having the world's fastest shower. I'm running upstairs to catch my kids before they go to school. And then I feel like an idiot that I couldn't stop myself from doing this. I literally put downtime on my own phone, like this tool that we use to cut the kids off at night. I like cut myself off
Whatever
so that all I can do for 15 minutes is listen to the Calm app or like receive emergency text messages from my elderly parents. Like that's it. That's all I can do.
I do that. So I go into the sauna and most people at the gym I go to will bring their phones or and they'll have their AirPods in or whatever, but I purposefully don't bring my phone in so that I can have 15, 20 minutes where I'm just in the sauna, no phone, no technology. I do have my Apple Watch still. So that way, like you said, if my mom or someone's calling and it's an emergency, I don't feel like, which is silly anyway, that I would feel like I can't go 15, 20 minutes without my phone. But it does give me just that little bit of peace of mind that, hey, if there happened to be an emergency right now, I do still have access to receive that information. But I really do. I've started to, and at first, like the first couple times I did it, I realized like, oh my God, sitting here with no phone, no book, no nothing, like it's not as easy as you would think for 15, 20 minutes. But now after doing it, I crave it. I look forward to it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I get to go, I'm going to leave my phone in my locker and go. Wouldn't necessarily call it meditating because I don't, go through like a meditative practice or anything, but it is meditative in its own, just sitting in there for 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes I'll have small talk with, people in there. Sometimes I'll try to, do some stretches or whatever. But yeah, like I said, it was very difficult the first couple times. I will admit that. But now I really look forward to that time.
Exactly. Like once you start carving these out, the biggest shock to me was like when I did the sleep caffeine modulation, and like I've always exercised, but I didn't do the other things. So, the gym was harder because I wasn't recovering. Um and when I put it all together, I was like blown away at the extra energy, the clarity, the focus, and it really kind of undid the bad habits I had by themselves. Like just by doing that, I didn't have to use a lot of discipline. It was like, oh hell no, I am so getting, I'm out by 10, I'm up like just before 6. I get good quality sleep in there. I don't feel like somebody raked me over coals. So that's sort of self-perpetuating. And what, like one of your viewers said, the other two tips, just as the bonus there, were I'll leave the diet out of it because that's political these days. Obviously, it was like sort of heavily tilted towards plant-based, but the alcohol, like at the very minimum, I don't know a lot of portfolio managers that drink Sunday to Thursday, like at all. Even
Right.
the guys with like 900 bottle wine cellars,
But
like
you said Sunday to Thursday. You're sit during the
yeah,
week. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Sunday to Thursday. Like I don't know, like not a scotch after work, not a
And
wine,
that's
like
one
just
thing that
like zero
that was one of
during.
my biggest takeaways from the Matthew Walker book was when he talks about the effects that alcohol has on sleep. It's not like, oh, even if you get like super tanked and you're really drunk, like yeah, of course you're gonna have some junk sleep. But he's saying even basically like one or two drinks, like a lot of people will do at a normal dinner, can
Yep.
really get in the way of having quality sleep. So if you're someone who does have like, one or two glasses of wine with dinner on like a Tuesday night, you might not think, oh, this is a big deal because you're not getting drunk or anything, but that's still impacting your sleep. And then, like you mentioned, Ryan, the sleep. I mean, when you start there, that impacts everything.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, that was one of Matthew Walker's big takeaways. And you can test it yourself now. If you have a smartwatch, like I've got an Apple Watch, lots of people do. There's an app called Auto Sleep, which I use every night. And it'll show you like the quality of your sleep, the time you spend in deep sleep, your sleep credit, your sleep debt, and then your energy that you can expect the next day. And it's been an awesome app for me to add to my life because it lines up. You think you've gotten enough sleep, but the next day the gym performance is just kind of lousy and you're wondering why. It's like, yeah, you were unconscious, but you didn't get the quality. And when it goes to absolute shit, it's always 3 glasses of wine, and then the next, it's all red the next day. Even if I've been out for 8 or 9 hours, I really didn't get much benefit from that. So there's the, at the bare minimum, Sunday through Thursday, we'll make sure that your sleep quality is high, you got the most clarity you can possibly bring to the job. If you want to partake Friday, Saturday, that's fine. you know, I did a year completely without that turned into 2 years just as an experiment, and that was just like at another level. I don't know whether socially and in what we, our interpersonal interactions, that's kind of difficult for some people not. It's getting more common, but I certainly know lots of fund managers, CIOs that just don't drink at all. But
Yeah.
there's the reason we didn't bring that up on this one is that people form an association with alcohol. For some people, it's a bit of a crutch, and recommending that they just yank it out from underneath themselves without any sort of consultation with like a health professional is bordering irresponsible. So take it for what it is. But those
Yep.
are the top 5 there.
Yep. And let's get into our Kaiju Kicker we're going to go ahead and there's going to be a lot of information on this one. Let's play our little short intro and we come back. We'll come back with that kicker. And Ryan, I'll let you walk me through it.
All right, I can see it today. So look, this is our Kaiju Kicker for the whole series, and it's just general bullet points. But I hope that over the course of this, if there's a takeaway, it's that anyone can become a successful retail trader or investor. This is not like some elite club that you can't join, or you didn't do your time as a runner on the floor, or your uncle doesn't work at SIBO, therefore you're going to get frozen out. It's just nonsense. You can absolutely become a successful retail trader, investor. You can self-direct your own portfolio. You can replace your job. Patience is the most important quality. This is where I see most people fall down. They follow the steps. They get to the point as new traders where they're building a strategy. They don't want to paper trade for 6 months. They're like, they have like 3 good weeks or 2 weeks or 1 month, and they're like, I've got this. And then they get blown up every time. Like, if you don't have 6 months starting out to just paper trade to verify that you actually know what you're doing, you're never, ever going to make it as a trader. Never. Like the AI strategies that we build that pump out these valuations in the hundreds of millions of dollars, like they take us forever. They take like a year to build. And we run how many millions of iterations? 60 when we're testing these things, 2 billion discrete examinations, like just patience, right? And then you've got something that you can push capital into and use with confidence. Okay, so there's no specific tools, software, sources of information that will make you a profitable trader. That's not where the edge lies. All those things will help you. And I hope over the course of the last 7 of these things, we've kind of demystified some. We've left some breadcrumbs for you to follow. We've cleared up some misinformation. But success really comes from building and following your rules. Some of the rules we articulated, but it's your rules. You can't just trade the way I trade. You're not me. I can't trade the way my head trader trades, or my director of trading, or anybody else on the desk, or any of the outsourced PMs that we use on the ETF side. It doesn't work that way. So follow the guidance shared in this series. Use it to craft your own trading systems. Even if you think that some of it is just shit, that's fine. Like, at least you've heard it, you've processed it, you've evaluated on your own, you've decided it's just nonsense. Okay, cool. And that you're comfortable with this system. Again, don't trade somebody else's system. Somebody's telling you what stock to buy, or I get in here, you should look at this. You're uncomfortable with that? Listen to that feeling. Build something that you're comfortable with. Maybe you're fundamentalist, maybe you're long-term, maybe you're swing, maybe you're Momo. Me, systematic quant AI. That was my route because that's what I was the most comfortable with. And if you're just starting, again, circling back to patience, allow at least 6 months of paper trading to determine whether or not you have a solid system. Why 6 months? Why not 1 or 2 or 3? Because you can get a distorted outcome by trading well in one specific market condition, right? Like, you happen to be trading some market condition, you're trading Momo long in tech stocks, and tech is just blowing up. You're going to have these awesome results. You're going to be like, I'm good to go. You're going to trade. But over 6 months, you will catch more than one market condition, and that will tell you whether or not this strategy or strategies of yours are going to work over the long term, or whether they'll just work in some market conditions, which means you can use them in those conditions, but you need to look elsewhere for the conditions they don't work well in. And that's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ryan, this has been some really good information. I like personally did not know, I guess, what to expect myself when we started this educational series, but I have learned a lot myself, even as someone who had been trading for like 2+ years coming into this. So I think one of the biggest things that we aimed for going into this, and that I think what one place we really hit the nail on the head, was that no matter where you were at in your trading journey, there was information in this series to help you. And of course, all of these, these past 8 episodes that we've done with this are all available on our YouTube, and you can go back and watch all of them for free. And I mean, it's really a tremendously valuable source of free information. And like you said, there's no one specific tool, software, etc., that's going to help you. But with all this collective information that we've talked about, what you'll be able to do is figure out what strategy works for you, and really how to kind of increase your profits, like what was the goal in this series. So Ryan, again, just thank you so much for coming on and helping myself and hopefully a lot of people out in the audience as well.
It's always a pleasure, Aaron. It's been a good time putting together these 8 episodes. I hope they're evergreen enough. I hope they're useful into the future. Certainly, if there's some huge change, I think I'll come back and correct one of them. This broker advice is terrible.
Yeah.
This trading system doesn't exist anymore. That's software. Bloomberg got bought by Benzinga. Maybe can't be recommending that terminal. Then can I? Gotta come.
Well,
back
we had the one episode on the Biden AI executive order. So if the election goes differently later in the year, and then we get a new executive order when it comes to AI, then we'll have to come back in and recap that one. But again, Ryan, I mean, always welcome back on the show. Thank you again for this educational series that we've done with Kaiju. Cannot thank you enough.
My pleasure. Have a good one, and I will see you down the road, Aaron.
Yes, we will. This is not a goodbye, just a see you later. Not a goodbye, just a see you later. All right, Ryan, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Enjoy the 4-day week, and we'll be in contact.
Yeah, you take care.
All right, guys, again, smash the like for my man, Ryan Pannell, our final episode of this Kaiju educational series. But again, that doesn't mean we're not going to do anything in the future. So a little tease there. Make sure to stay tuned. But guys, again, I mean, just so much information, not only in today's episode, but the past 7 episodes. Today, we really touched on a lot of habits and things that can help you in your trading, of course. But really, I mean, outside your trading as well, just everywhere in life. So, honestly, like if you were going to take away stuff from any of these episodes, this one is a great one to do that with, just because, again, I mean, even if you're not trading a year from now, but you're still doing the things that we talked about today in today's episode, you're going to be better off than you were not doing those things. All right, guys, with that, we've gone a few minutes over, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up later this afternoon. Make sure to stay tuned. We've got Cannabis Insider starting at 1 p.m. and some other great content coming your way the rest of this week. We'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow. Pre-market prep, of course. And other than that, yeah, guys, make sure to smash the like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. My Twitter's up on the screen. Yeah, we'll see y'all tomorrow, just a day away.